The first time I ran away from home, I was 11 years old. I left in the summer, and so I spent my first nights out under the stars in abandoned buildings and garages, having pulled as much of the items that I filled my clubhouse with from the garbage or the alleys or the creeks. And then I remember when winter came and I had to start sleeping outside in the winter. I had to walk outside all day in the winter, my toes stiff and frozen, my fingertips burning with the ice cold blood running through them. The only thing that's ever been like that for me again was when I didn't have family. And I know a lot of us have really struggled with family. No family is sane and we're all dysfunctional. And then some of us feel like we can never have a family again. But the reality is, family starts with this essential cell of connection that we have to the people in our lives, whether they're our blood. But we can feel bonded, which is stronger than blood in many cases. At many times you may feel like you are alone in this world and trembling with cold. But it is only for you to recognize that these problems don't have solutions. Instead, it requires that we outgrow those problems and establish a new family in our life. But for that to happen, we have had to have gone through a process. And I think the first step in that process is acceptance. Acceptance that our lives and our families are imperfect. The second step of that process is getting to a place of forgiveness. We have to forgive God, we have to forgive our family members. And I know this can be a barrier because many of us have these grievances with the trauma that has been imposed on us unjustly, the abuse, the abandonment, the denial. But forgiveness isn't concerning the moral value of the injustice, because at some point, what has to rule over this sense of justice is this sense of the relationship. But this relationship isn't with others, it's within ourselves. And oftentimes what I've discovered from my own journey is that I had to learn to forgive myself. Because even though I was young and small when these things happened to me, I still blamed myself for not being stronger, for not being able to stop these things from happening to me. And then that got projected into this image and character that I designed for myself. When I was a child, I had nowhere to go, but what I've learned today is that home is where you go to rest. And so if you still haven't rediscovered what family means to you, you still feel cold and lonely. Families are supposed to be a compass that guide us, but oftentimes it's family that has put us on this journey of being lost. And while I do think family is key today, the relationship starts with who we are, how much we have healed, and how willing we are to expand ourselves back to the world, because oftentimes these wounds of family have caused us to contract and withdraw from the world. But in order to have a healthy family, we have to nurture the practice of family values. And when we can nurture those practices within ourselves by loving ourselves, we become available to love again. And we become available to be loved again, to feel lovable. through these meaningful relationships and experiences that we may still be chasing after today, we may find that the wounds of our past start to heal. And maybe if not healing, maybe there is something more important for us to focus on, such as this relationship at this time. We can't afford to bend time backwards, comparing everything that we experienced today to what it was like then, and then validating all of that pain and suffering and attaching it to these new experiences we're having. We are either loyal to the healing or loyal to the suffering. And in order to reclaim your life, you have to abandon your devotion to suffering in exchange for what we're looking for, which is actually and ultimately togetherness. Family today is less about the blood bonds and more about the bonds that we create in this space moving forward, despite and in spite of all of those previous prior past experiences. This pain and suffering is proof of life, but so is love. And when you can experience love, you can experience the other side of family. Today, loving others is like having all these separate hearts attached to yours, but binding at the spiritual level, the soul level, creating one soul among all of those experiences that you share together. If you could open your heart, you might find that in some cases you are all the family you will ever need. And I think you should go back to who you are and pull back that child or that person you put away so long ago so that you can live your life fully in this moment, free of your past, with freedom arriving at your doorstep. While the definition of family has changed, its importance to us has stayed the same. I invite you to come out of the cold and into the warmth of togetherness. I'm Sammy Rangel, and I'm here to stay.